Oh, I think everyone knows your password now. So, we are Cheryl and Kendra, and we're here to talk to you about being low-hanging fruit. It happens that easy. You share your password out loud, you have it taped to the bottom of your computer, you're doing something that you never thought you would do out loud, and now everyone has your contact information. It's as simple as that. So,
So here's our sponsor. Thank you to the sponsor slides. Without the sponsors, we would not be able to have this great event for the whole week. So here's what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about identity theft. The first part, I'm going to do that first part and talk about your personal identity because it does affect your business. And then Kendra is going to talk about the cybersecurity for your business. And throughout it, we're going to be doing a bingo game, which Kendra is going to explain how we're going to do that.
All right, absolutely. So just as we provided an example of, it is so easy for someone to get your information. You use a Facebook page to post that you're going out of town. Most everybody uses either their kids or their dogs and their passwords, and you may never update that password unless someone tells you you have to. So we are going to try to help business owners to become not low-hanging fruit. Don't be the easiest target for cybercrime. So we are going to play Cyber Bingo. The way that it's going to work is we're going to go through our presentations. We're going to talk to you about the risk, talk to you about things you can do to help. On those bingo sheets, there's a lot of different specifics that may apply to you or may not apply to you. If Cheryl and I say it while we're talking, and it is something that you have access to, like a computer, or you know connect business through phone calls, and we use that, go ahead and cross that off. And then if you're really excited, you can yell bingo, or you can also yell your computer password. So either one is great for us. So anyway, we've got 2 Starbucks gift cards for the first 2, and that's really just kind of another way to keep you guys to realize how easy we are all targets and how to not become low-hanging fruit.
Okay, and then we will do give you some tips on reducing how to not become a victim of identity theft, and then we'll open up to Q&A. So again, my name is Cheryl Garcia, and I actually am a small business and employee benefit specialist for Legal Shield and ID Shield. So I've worked for the company since 2000, and we have seen a lot of changes with identity theft in that time, and that's really what we're going to go over today. So first I want to get started by focusing on you as a person, because your information is so important for your company when you're looking at your identity and cybersecurity. So we have personal cybersecurity, which is what I'm going to talk about, and then Kendra's going to talk about the company cybersecurity, and it's really about identity theft, right, and things that are going to happen. So identity theft happens every 22 seconds. And why would your company be low-hanging fruit? What do you think would cause that? Anyone? What's that? Use a credit card? Sure. Yep. Use a credit card. Okay, so we learned that as a business, we want to keep our things separate, right? We want to have a separate credit card for our personal. We want to have a separate credit card for our business. And what else would keep you as low-hanging fruit as a business or a startup business? Can you think of anything else? This is such a shy group here. Are you all in IT? No.
I think we also use cloud apps like Google for everything.
Okay, right. So you could use the cloud and oh, yes, thank you for that. Right into, do you do these things? So how many of you have done business in a coffee shop? Maybe I should say who has not done business in a coffee shop, right? So that's exactly right, Josh. When you have that public Wi-Fi, do you have a VPN? And I'm sorry, I forgot to set my timer.
Quickly, so while she's doing that, so for the bingo, if you're doing business at a coffee shop, you're gonna be using your computer. So if that kind of applies for this, then that would be a check mark off on your bingo.
And you do have a free spot. Everybody see that? Okay. So what about checking your social media account? How many times have you done that today? Have you looked at, posted, right? Patty, you're doing it right now. You're posting information, right? How about those images that are on Facebook or images maybe on Instagram of when you were in college or maybe when you turned 21, right? I actually had a service go through my reputation management, and it came up with 51 images that I needed to either delete or say it's okay. And some of those were things that I needed to delete because it was way back when those pictures I don't need to have on social media right now. What about clicking on an invoice, or you think it's an invoice, but it's not really an invoice, right? They're trying to scam you, they're trying to do the phishing, the smishing with text messages for that. What about downloading apps? We were just talking about that new networking app. You know, how many of you download apps and you don't really know what it is or what it does? Collect customers' information for payment. So are you getting customers' information, and how are you getting that, and what do you do with it? So like with my business, if I go into a company and do employee benefits, they're filling out a paper application and or they're going to a website. So the website is taken care of by corporate, but the paper application has the last 4 digits of that employee's social security number, date of birth, their name, their dependents, their address. And so I need to make sure that I take care of that piece of paper. Or if someone's going to send me an application, whether it's a small business legal plan or an employee benefit, I use Encrypto, and I can have it send right to me as a download. How about answer calls from local numbers? This is the one that's really driving me crazy, right? It looks like it's coming from 720-970-303. And then they start going off and they're like from Texas, or they're from Maine, or they're from another country. And because I don't know about you, but for me, I want to answer my phone, right? It may be a current client, it could be a potential client. So I want to answer my phone, and then it's, you know, they're wanting to sell me something, or it's a scam that they're trying to call you about for that. Now, when you think of identity theft, most people first think of a credit card. Which one of these do you think is the fastest growing identity theft that's out there? Which one? Yes, in case you can't see that, we have character and criminal, employment, medical, financial, driver's license, and children identity. Children's. Which one do you think is the fastest growing? Employment. Taxes, social security number. Okay, so in 2020, that is the correct answer, because there was so much unemployment insurance fraud that happened. But now we're back to the number one before 2020, which was medical identity theft. Now, why would you think somebody would want your medical insurance? Any thoughts about that, why somebody would want it? They don't have medical insurance, so they're going to use yours. They're going to buy drugs on your, maybe they have a drug habit, maybe they want to sell drugs, maybe they want to sell your medical information, because your medical card is the most valuable thing that you have in your purse or your wallet. It's worth millions of dollars. So in the description, we had talked about Joe, who owned a small business. His name was Joe Ryan, and he lived up by Aspen, and he had a small plane company where he was commuting people back and forth. Well, Joe needed a new part for his plane, so he called down to Centennial. The person taking the order said, okay, what's the model, and Joe's in a hurry, right? We're all in a hurry, right? So he goes, what's the model number of your airplane? What's your date of birth? What year is your airplane? What's your social security number? So Joe's giving all this money, right? Not even thinking anything would be wrong, or because he was in a hurry, he was giving information. Well, that person became Joe Ryan, and he ended up racking up a $40,000 medical bill. Now, who do you think was responsible for that medical bill? The real Joe Ryan. The guy that pretended to be Joe Ryan actually ended up dying. Now, the real Joe Ryan starts getting all these medical bills, $40,000 worth, and he's like, no, I still have my leg. I didn't have it amputated. And he had to prove it wasn't him. Because with identity theft, you are guilty, and you have to prove that you're innocent with identity theft. Now, that affected his business for 2 years because it affected his ability to pay his bills, ability to get a loan, ability to pay his employees with the loan in the bank and all those types of things. So your medical insurance is very important to do that. And so, like I said, as a small business owner, that had affected him. And then your social security number, it's tied to what? Everything with your business. And one of the tips that we have on the tip sheet that you can grab on your way out, or we have some up here, is, set up your EIN number. It's easy to do. It helps you separate your social security number from your business, and that is a tip that you want to do with that. Driver's license identity theft. Now think about if somebody used your driver's license, what would happen? I mean, could that impact your business? Sure, you might not be able to drive. In 2017, anybody remember what happened in 2017 with identity theft? Starts with an E, Equifax, right? 52% of Americans, your information was compromised. And so with that, what was compromised, the thing that was unique about that was that it had your driver's license. So it had all your other information, your social security number, your date of birth, your address, everything about you, right? It's a credit repository, so it has all this information about you. So half of us in this room, our information has been compromised through that data breach. And some companies found during 2020 with the unemployment fraud that those employees were also victims of Equifax because they just weren't going to dump the information, they being the thieves, they weren't just going to dump this information into the system right away. They waited for a crisis so that they could start getting that information out. Children is really one of the fastest growing identity thefts that's out there. So if you do have young children, what I would recommend is you can freeze their social security number. And so freeze it. And then when they get older, like they need to get a loan or they're going to school, then you can unfreeze it. But if you have a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, you can freeze it for every credit repository for that. Character and criminal means that somebody's going to become you and commits a crime in your name. And you may not even know it, that they did that. They could do a DUI, a drug situation. So there was an employee that was a physical therapist, and she went to do her continuing education credits. Well, they said, you can't get certified because you have been arrested for prostitution and for drugs. And she said, oh, no, that's not me, right? That's what happens. That's not me. And so again, now it impacted her ability to have her business and to be able to work as a physical therapist for that. So how do people, again, the thieves, how do they get our information? Well, a lot of us are working at home. So what kind of systems do you have in place if you're working from home, or even if you're working from this type of environment? I see that sign over there for Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if that's a public Wi-Fi, because if it is, then you probably need to have a VPN definitely on your computer, on your phone, to have that. But working from home, we're setting up more apps, we have more accounts, right? So there's more, and do you have a security on your Wi-Fi? Do you have a password on your Wi-Fi at home? Because you need to have that also, because somebody can drive by your home and they can actually tap into your Wi-Fi. So some of you may have seen, like Comcast has that open Wi-Fi. Okay, that's a not, right? We don't want to be using that. And what about online shopping? Maybe even some of you have an online shopping business. I know we still use online for groceries. This morning, my husband was, his favorite online is Amazon for that. But, do you have online? That also is a way that thieves can get our information. And then about social media, right? We just talked about Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all those things are happening. And again, which one of these have you logged into today, right? We're developing a digital footprint. So the next slide, we'll do this, then the next one that I want to talk about is, what are you doing about your reputation? One thing that just drives me crazy is when people say, here's a picture, I'm on the airplane, we're going to Mexico, we're going to Cancun, we're going to be there for a week. What does that say? Come on over to my house, take what you want, right? So we have to be very careful about what we put on social media, and especially about our reputation. What do you want people to think about you as a business owner? Because people are going to check you out. They're going to go to Facebook. They're going to go to LinkedIn. They're going to say, do I want to work with this person? Do I want to use this business? And so some of the things you want to be careful about is your date of birth, your hometown. Your date of birth and hometown can be actually by your social security number. They can start figuring that out. Like my social security number starts with a 3. So what state do you think I'm from? Anybody? Wisconsin. Who's from Colorado? And does it start with a 5? Okay, so they can figure those types of things out by the information that we have. All right, social media. Are you, are you a customer? No, you're not a customer. They're gathering information, inventory, right? Your inventory for that. Smart devices. Does everybody have a smart device? No? We call ours A for Alexa. Because if we say Alexa, what do you want? And then, they're not really listening to your conversation, but they're trying to pick up key words and phrases. Like you may be having a conversation and you say to your friend on the phone, and little Alexa's right there, yeah, I sure would like to get a puppy. And then you go to your laptop, and all of a sudden, what happens? You're seeing ads for puppies or dog food, right? Or what's that Chewy, the box of toys that come? With Alexa, there's a part of it it's called Sidewalk, where you can turn that feature off of Alexa, so you might want to do that. Streaming services, who's cut the cable? We cut the cable a couple years ago, but I think our bill is probably the same, because it's like, it's only, $12.95, okay, and then we have so many. Gaming tags, if you are a gamer or your children are a gamer, your spouse is a gamer, those are also ways that people can get into your information. So how does it impact your business? 75% of the victims are between the ages of 20 and 59. Because sometimes people think, that's going to happen, you have the more mature person who doesn't really know what they're answering. The biggest thing on here is your time, right? What do we do if we become a victim of identity theft, or we think we're becoming a victim of identity theft? The other part we have to worry about as a person, as your personal cybersecurity, are data breaches. We have no control over data breaches. They happen, you can see at record numbers last year, 2020 started it, 2021, data breaches are happening all the time. Now you as a business owner, if you have a data breach, I would suggest the first person that you call is an attorney. because there's certain laws, depending on what happened and what you need to do to notify either your customers, your employees, about that data breach that happened. And so 30% is from phishing emails, and 85% comes from the employee or the owner. That's where it's happening, our data breaches, because sometimes people think, it's a sophisticated thing that's happening. So you can see this right here. I love this little, well, it's not a comic. What is it? It would be a meme. Kendra gave that to us. Yeah, if I could just stop clicking on phishing emails, that would be great. The biggest tip today is stop before you click. Stop before you punch it if you're on your phone. Because there are phishing, there's smishing. So when we look at phishing, do you all know what that means? Right? It looks like it's coming from the credit union, but it's not. Right? They're just trying to get you in. Do you think Amazon is ever going to send you an email about your account? No, they're not. They're not going to send you an email about your account. In 2020, my dad passed away in Wisconsin. I was with my mom. I dropped her off at the bank. I get this email, and it says, did you order, it looks like Amazon, okay, your order for this laptop is $2,000. If you did not order this, click here. Okay, so I wasn't really thinking. I didn't stop and think about that. So I called the number. And they said, okay, you need to go to your computer. And I go, who is this? Well, we're Amazon. And I'm like, okay, I need to call you back. What's the number? No, you just need to go to your computer. And then once you get to your computer, and I'm in a car. I can't do that. So we have to stop and think about what are we getting. Look up there, right, in the address and everything, because we're always in a hurry. And so we have to just stop and look at that. Okay, phishing, has anybody got any voice? Same thing. What do you remember what kind it was? What did they do? Quick actions, right. Did you know that we're going to stop your Social Security payments? And you're like, I don't even get Social Security. Why are you calling me, right? Or you have a tax audit, or you owe the IRS this money. Is the IRS ever going to call you? No, they're not going to call you. Okay, now the biggest thing right now is the smishing, which are the text messages, where they're same type of idea, right? Has anybody ever got one of those? What was it in regards to? Do you remember? Account verification. Okay, yeah, good one. Yeah. Right, okay, somebody's trying to get your account information. Yes, I mean, they're so tricky, right? You're like, and again, if you're in a hurry, sometimes you go, oh yeah, okay, I need to do that, boing, not a good thing that we're doing that. Okay, passwords. They're like underwear. Both are used. We need to change them often. Don't share them with friends, and don't hang them out in public view. I'll go into a small business and I see these sticky notes everywhere, right? They're all over the place. Get a password manager to help you with that. So every business, what you need is a dark web surveillance, something that's going to check out the dark web, because you never want your information sold and resold and sold again. A reputation management service, payday loan, look at something that has restoration, limited power of attorney, a VPN, a password manager, and the security that wraps around your laptop and your phones. So the cost of the business, I don't know about you, but I don't have $40,000 to $92,000 to pay per victim. When you have clients, you have employees for that. So we have to be very careful with that information. Now, we do have a handout that has tips, and we'll come back to that at the end, and maybe you have some questions that will be about that. So the next part is going to be Kendra talking about cybersecurity for your business. Okay, and do you want to tell them about you, or?
Oh, sure.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Hello, everyone. My name is Kendra Hunter. I specialize in business insurance. What we're focusing on today is to help your business become not low-hanging fruit. I've been in the industry for about 10 years, and just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, I know everybody knows how much this has constantly started coming up more often in, gosh, in the news and everything. There's a lot more cyber threat than there was 10 years ago. When I started off in the insurance industry, I worked for a construction company, and we specifically really just worked with contractors. And we had this company come out and say, cyber, it's the new biggest thing, sell it to everyone. So we quoted a cyber policy, probably less than $500 even for a giant GC contractor in Denver with all of the progress we have here, probably $500. And no one, out of a whole year, 365 days, thousands and thousands of policies, not one contractor bound a cyber policy. That was 10 years ago. That's not that long ago. And you look at it today, even in the last 3 years, the implications, the risk, and everything associated with that is completely different, even than it was a few years ago. Does everybody remember the crazy cyber scam that happened to Target in 2017? So that was kind of like one of the biggest first things that happened through cyber. And everybody who had a Target gift card or a Target account was at risk. Everything was stolen, all your information was stolen. That was a $18.5 million loss for Target. And that was in 2017. Does everybody remember what happened just recently with the crypto? So there's a crypto company that also just had a cyber attack, and they had a complete loss. And that cyber attack for Crypto.com confirms, this was in January of 2022, and they, at that point, had a $35 million loss. So it's just skyrocketing. And really at this point, what happens, like everything as Cheryl's talked about, this is now the petty crime. There is not a lot of the theft that's happened in our past is changing. This is the hit. And these big companies like Target, like this crypto company, they have a cyber program. They have someone specifically dedicated to cyber. They have someone who is going to make sure that this doesn't happen to them again. And now, with all their securities, they're no longer the target. We are all the target. It is so much easier for someone to come in and get our personal information than Target's, because all of this security has now been implemented. So as a business owner, it's important to kind of really think about this, to protect yourself, but as Cheryl was talking about, how much it can absolutely put you upside down, whether it's on a personal side of it or a business side of it. It's something to consider when you start working on your business. It doesn't matter if you are a startup nail salon or you're going to be in finance or real estate, construction. If you are processing a payment, if you have a bank account, if you use email, if you have a computer software system, you're at risk. So I can join. So really, this is kind of what we're just talking about. Like, cyber has gone up extreme also through the pandemic. It was much, much easier for people to attack others through cyber and never leave their house. There's a lot going on. Cyber criminals are getting smarter. And just from 2021 to 2020 to 2021, there was a 42% increase in cybercrime. And that was $590 million paid out in ransom. This is just for people who had insurance. This doesn't count people who thought it wasn't going to happen to me. It's nuts. There's a lot of changes in the insurance industry side of it as well. So my plan is really to kind of give you guys just the basis of this. It's important to work with someone who can understand this to help you. There's a lot of different types of coverages, a lot of different definitions. Maybe it applies, maybe it doesn't. But it's heavier underwriting. So some of these are things that Cheryl already went through. Your ransomware, if they're trying to get personal information, phishing, security terms. Then you have all these remote desktops. Now everybody works remote, right? Everyone wants to be able to work from a Starbucks or work from a vacation. You have a remote desktop, you have a VPN. These all increase your cyber risk. There's a lot more that goes into that, and the cyber attacks can shut down your complete business operation. A cyber policy can actually not only pay the ransomware maybe that you need to get your computer released to you, but they may be able to help you compensate for when your company is shut down. If you're a doctor's office and you have a cyber hit, you can't operate, access any single system. What if you constantly make payments? You're using, online websites. You're processing those payments for your clients or your, distributors, and your bank account's shut down. How do you continue to operate your business with this? So a lot of it really goes into, securing yourself, making the best decisions. Like we were talking about, passwords are a big thing. You should have a set password reminder to update your password every 30 minutes. Shouldn't be using the same password for multiple systems. Try to avoid using things that you're going to put on Facebook. If you just went to Scotland, you probably shouldn't make Scotland 2022 your password. Because I did that, and then I was like, what am I doing? Because I was so excited about Scotland. We don't think about these things, and we are. We can't avoid it. We make these mistakes all the time. So there's a lot of different things that we can all do individually. Does anyone in here plan on using like a VPN or a third-party network system or anything like high security types? So most of those now come with their own securities. There's a lot of different securities that you can put into place through your emails. Even if it's the basic one that comes with your email address, and it comes as soon as you start your Gmail account, even that is going to be better than nothing. But working with a third-party security company that can just at least help regulate and pull those phishing emails so that when you go to click on it because you think that it's important, it doesn't actually harm you or shut down your program. So these are a lot of things that, they're hard to really consider because all of this costs money, right? You have a third-party security system, they're going to charge you. You have to pay for even just an automated security system on your email. You're going to pay monthly for it. But at this point, that cost benefit is huge because you pay monthly for these securities to have that policy or just to prevent it. And you could be saving, even at the little low end, you have ransomware that comes in, shuts down your computer. You have to pay them $10,000 just to release your computer screen. Would you prefer to have paid, $1,200 a year for an insurance policy that just paid that $10,000, and now you're back up and running within 24 hours? Just all things to consider when you're working on your business, and also if you have third party, if you're processing any sort of payments, you're sending emails. What if your system gets hacked and you've sent out an email now to all of your clients, and now all of your clients' systems are at risk? That falls back on you as the business owner. It follows back through to where that started. That can be incredibly detrimental to your success. So there's also a lot of things that happen on the insurance side. So carriers will limit the exposure. That's why it's broken down into so many different coverages. It's grown and become so vast that there's so many different types of coverages, but that also means it's excluded. So if you do find insurance for your cyber, or you work with a security protection company, go into detail, find out what it does cover and what it doesn't cover. And there are no dumb questions. If they say VPN and you don't know what VPN means, ask, because you are paying for this to be protected. It changes so frequently with lots of different types of companies. So is there an insurance policy that covers it all? Absolutely not. Not a chance. Just for an example, I was working on a quote today for a life coach, and she works out of a shared office space, and she works remote. She's all over. She'll go to a coffee shop, maybe to a library, and just her, small company, working on general liability and her professional, right? Those policy packaged together, probably about $1,200. Worked on a cyber for her because she processes payments, she'll take notes and keep personal information of her clients. She's not a licensed therapist, she's not a doctor, but she's a huge risk. She's sitting at a Starbucks talking to somebody about their life. Well, I worked on a cyber quote for her, and on the very small end, it's maybe $200 for a $250,000 limit for these 6 different types of coverages. But if I increase that limit to $1 million and include 3 times as many coverages, that premium almost more than quadrupled. So it changes very significantly based off of what you're looking for. So it's important to kind of, identify what your biggest risks are, and then find out how you're protecting yourself from that. So a few different ways. Obviously, you're starting a business. The biggest bottom line is money. So these things may not be a possibility for you as you start. But there's other ways to improve your security and risk control before you get to that point. So, there's definitely ways you can add antivirus or anti-malware softwares, including, your tablets, your cell phones, any of that. If you haven't done that yet, you're putting yourself out there. You can back up your data. How frequently? Are you backing it into a cloud? Are you putting it on a drive? How often are you backing up that data that you're using? Updating your password, where I talked about that. If you are involved with invoicing of any kind, this is something that I've seen actually work really, really well for any kind of company. You have an invoice limit when funds are released, whether it's you or it's a client, or an employee of yours. You set a limit and say, George, you can pay any invoice under $100 if you're a smaller company, or maybe it's a $10,000 invoice for a big oil and gas company. If it's over this amount, you need to call that company, double check that invoice, clarify the reference number on it, because who's going to pay an invoice that looks like it's put together by a Word document? Confirm that before you pay it. Because there's so many times where even these emails come through as a phishing email, the letter of that email is off by one letter. You don't notice that there's no S on the end. They send you a false invoice, you pay them directly, and they are gone, and there's $10,000 you just paid of an invoice. So set those little, even if it's a small company, set those limits on your invoicing. And there is nothing wrong with calling that company and saying, hey, working on this invoice, I just want to confirm this. Is this the correct information to send this to? Multi-factor authentication. So again, this is the same thing. There's 2 verification methods to gain access to that. I'm guilty of this. I will save my passwords on my carrier website. So I'll log into Travelers, and my computer will say, hey, we saved your password. You just hit, yep, that's good. It's so much quicker. But these carriers have now also gotten on top of that, where I cannot log into a carrier website without them now asking me if I want an email or a text or a phone call with a password, and then I enter in that password. So they're doing this for a reason, but it's things to think about. We're all guilty of it, saving passwords for quick access to your bank accounts, to your usual go-to, your Amazon account. It doesn't matter. It's so much easier to hold those, but consider either not saving those or working on that dual multi-factor authentication for those payments. And these are things, yeah.
So what's the judgment then on Face ID? Because that is very unique versus a password that someone can crack. So would you say that is okay though? Because some of those two-way verifications and authentications can go via Face ID.
Absolutely. And a Face ID is one of the hardest ways to falsify any sort of login. A lot of the new computers have a fingerprint, or your phone does. Can you get those? We've all seen a lot of TV shows where they take a piece of tape and they put it over the fingerprint, and then they pull this like gel out of their pocket and they make this fake fingerprint, and now everyone has my computer information because they would do that for that. But yes, absolutely. A facial recognition with the new iPhones, that is what that is. That is going to be one of the best ways to protect yourself. A fingerprint, a facial recognition, that dual, multi-factor authentication, absolutely. If your business is going to service people and you're going to have any sort of personal information, even keeping payment on file, it's important to protect yourself. Even if you're using a third-party system, you go to a farmer's market and you have a candle company. You go to a farmer's market and you use iPay, and it's literally just that you have that little thing that attaches to your phone. You scan it through, and you think, I don't have any risk because it's not my phone, it's not my payment, I'm not using this company. It is. They are getting so specific to identifying where that theft comes from. If you had said that you always authorize or do a payment plan or payment password protection, and they find out that you didn't do that and unlock your phone to run that payment, it's on you. Because these companies have their insurance policies with their limitations, and there's a ton of legal on the back end of these cyber crimes that are going to bat. They're finding out whose fault it was before they pay out a claim. And they also are, this is pretty cool, I think it's cool. I'm a nerd, right? I'm in insurance, so I've got to be a super nerd. But This is pretty interesting. There's a whole back of this on the cyber insurance claims side. They have an entire department that will be working with research companies and investigators to find these criminals. And they actually they're going through the process to obviously pay your claim, get you up and running, that's the most important thing. But they are doing a ton of work on the back end to find out who's doing this and how do we shut them down? How do we slow it? How do we protect ourselves? So I think that's pretty cool that they're not just sitting out and paying these claims and then increasing our premiums. They're really trying to work on ways to prevent this in the future, which is why it's changed so much in the last 10 years, why it's changed so much even in, 5 years since Target in 2017. So there's a lot of movement in the industry for it. So
So I, just a couple comments on that is. Then it goes, what is your password? Then I could put that in there. And then with my phone, it's my thumbprint, right, for the phone to be able to open that up for that. So yeah, it is important to do that, to look at having that secure into your phone is like, would you say this is kind of like your business lifeline right here? Your phone, yes. So, if you just have to have a code, a passcode on it, I know people that won't do that because it's inconvenient. It's like, okay, but you put your medical card in here and there's no passcode. Lots of credit card stuff too, maybe. Oh, and, there are other people that have an Excel spreadsheet of their passwords on their computer, which can be hacked and they can get into all of your information for that.
there are programs that you can use that will lock your passwords up, where you can put them all together on like an app or something on your phone too, so in place of an Excel. So the last thing on here to kind of improve your security risks, if putting together an actual policy or doing something that isn't in the books for right now, if you have employees or even if it's just yourself, go through an incident response plan. I know it sounds silly, but if something happens, what do? And when you're in the middle of that, it's a lot harder to think about what the next step is if you don't already have it planned out. Know someone to call, have an IT contact. If you have employees, what's the shutdown? If someone has an email or something that looks concerning, what do? So there's a lot of things that take a very, very little effort to make a huge difference. And to be completely honest with you, if you're not already doing these things, you're probably not going to be eligible for a cyber insurance policy anyway. Because these carriers want to see people taking initiative to assess their own risk.
Well, in addition to that, there are specific laws about, and there's new laws coming up in 2023 about privacy. And so there are specific laws that'll happen also, not only with your insurance claims, but laws that you could be fined thousands of dollars per person that maybe some information was lost for that. So you want to make sure that you are taking care of the paper, you're taking care of online, online in office, all those types of things that you actually are securing that information.
Thank you.
And when you talked about the policy, if something happens, even if you're a solopreneur, like I'm a solopreneur, if you're a solopreneur, you need to have a policy and procedure in place. Because if something happens and the feds come down on you or the Colorado State comes down on you, they're going to look for what's called a good faith effort. What is your good faith effort that you have in place for private information about your clients, about your potential clients also?
Great. So that pretty much finishes up. How has no one in here had a bingo? I don't understand. No one uses Facebook, bank online. So I'm just going to go through the things that we've done, that we've said out loud. So I'm going to run through them, and we'll see who gets the first bingo. Do you want to grab one? Because you might as well, right? Yeah. Ooh. Might as well, right? Do you want a pen? Sure. And in? All right. Okay, so we have talked about, I think, almost all of these. If we haven't, we failed. But, okay, use Facebook, use a computer, have a shared network. That's the VPN, or you use a shared network. You work on payments. You're processing payments. You do any sort of online banking. You work on invoices. You use your kids' or your pet's name as your password. Guilty.
Yeah, Mark, right.
Yep. You don't know when you last updated your computer. We didn't say that out loud, but I will say that one. Okay, we conduct business through emails. We talked about that if you're going to be working remote. And you search the internet for any updates. Yes. All right.
Hey, bingo.
And we've
I
got-
think we have 2 right there.
Yep. Who else?
The gentleman right there?
You did?
Bingo.
Okay. Well, awesome. I know this isn't like the same actual bingo as some of that, but we truly just, appreciate your time. And gosh, it's just a new, crazy world, and this is a huge exposure to anyone, big or small. It doesn't matter if it's just you, or if you have a small company, or you work with a big company. All just things to think about and food for thought. And we could go through a few questions. And just really quickly, I do apologize, but I have another appointment that rescheduled, so I will put my cards on the back of these as well, but I'll have to leave right at 3:30, so I just want to...
So the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, ftc.gov, this is a cybersecurity for small businesses. So we have some up here, we have some on the table. On the way out, if you want to grab one of those, it has info and then to do, what to do. And I love, and our cards are on the back. So if you have any more questions, this is one that I love too, is protecting personal information, a guide for business. So this is about protecting that private information that we all talked about with that. So those are some resources available. Who wants an apple?
Anyone?
Let's not be low-hanging fruit, but you can have some fruit today, right? Any questions? Anybody have any questions for us? Okay, well, thank you all for sticking in there for the last session, right? Thank you. No questions? Where to start? Well, I personally think you have to start with your personal habits, because everything that you do will affect your business. And then, what do you do with your cell phone, your laptop, all that information about you and about your clients? And if you are looking for something for your business, then I would recommend, chatting with Kendra about what is your business, what do you need, because you need to fit your business. Yes. Yeah, it varies on what you're going to be doing. So, for example, we have a tip sheet in the back, and we talked about several of these, but one of them we haven't talked about, which is very important, is shred, shred, shred. Shred everything, any kind of piece of paper. It drives my husband crazy. I get him a catalog, I take the back, and my name might be in the middle of it also, and I shred that information because that has codes that are related to you. Somebody could actually open up a credit card in your name by using one of those catalogs. So shred all that stuff. If you're a citizen of Wheat Ridge, we're having a free shredding event on October 8th. And, just keep checking with your community. There's quite a few free shredding. This morning I had Pam, she is a general contractor, and she said, what do I do with my old computer? What do I do with my hard drive? I said, you smash it with a hammer. into little pieces. She goes, oh, well, what do I do with the tower? I go, what I did with mine is I went to Best Buy, and for free, they will take out your hard drive, give it to you, and recycle the rest of your tower. And so then, because I will not, me personally, I will not think it's washed or cleaned. I just want it. I want the hard drive. So I keep that myself for that. Okay, so there's a bunch of tips on here to do that. Update your software. You know, sometimes that'll pop up to do that. Strong cell phone, you know, strong passwords, like we talked about. And monitor your credit report. That's important for not only you personally, but for your business. Because your credit score affects your business. Does it affect your insurance?
True, there are certain carriers that do have access to a soft credit hit, and it doesn't even require, it wouldn't require maybe your FEIN or your business number. If you're an established business, there are companies that will decline because of your credit for that, and there are still carriers that will do it, but it absolutely does affect your eligibility with the preferred markets in the insurance world.
And your credit score also has an effect on your car insurance, right? Isn't there like a formula that you use for your car insurance? And so if there's something on your credit report, so you can get a free credit report, right, from each credit repository. And if there's something on there that shouldn't be there, you need to fix it because it's affecting your pocketbook with your insurance rates, your interest rates. If you have a credit card, you have a house, you have a loan, small business loan, they're going to look at your credit score because it's going to, even employers are looking at your credit score now because they want to know how reliable are you for that. And so as a small business owner, you know, again, like I said, people are going to be checking you out and if they're going to do business with you. Not that they have access to your credit report, but. Anything else? Anybody else have a tip that they have found that's important with identity theft or with cyber?
We did it all.
Wow, we're so good. No. But again, take those resources. If you have some questions, give us a call or send an email, a text, whatever type of communication that you prefer. Thank you again for your time today. And thank you, Patty.